Hey class, Mr. Husted here, back for another exciting episode of Geometry Notes. We're moving on with a little more algebra here, and today we're going to be talking about writing and graph equations of lines. So we're kind of taking slope and we're adding a little bit more to it. So let's talk about the two ways that we can write equations of lines. Those are known as slope-intercept form, which I assume most of you are probably the most familiar with. Y equals mx plus b. In this case, y is our slope, and b is our y-intercept. That's one way we're going to write them. Another way we're going to see them, we don't write it nearly as much, as known as standard form, and that's just ax plus by equals c. Don't get caught up on the plus and the a, b, c. This just means there's a number in front of x, a number in front of y, and it equals a number without a variable. These numbers will all change. This may even be a minus sign, but this is what standard form looks like. Okay? So let's jump in here to example number 1. Write an equation of the line from the graph over here. All right, so traditionally we want to write equations of line in the form y equals mx plus b. And the two things we need here are a slope and a y-intercept. Okay, so we'll start with the most familiar one, and that is the slope. What we've talked about so far is taking our 2 points, marking them as x1, y1, and x2, y2, and figuring out the slope from there. Remember, it's change in y's over change in x's. So we'll do negative 2 minus 4 over 3 minus 0. That's going to give me negative 6 over 3, which will leave me with a slope of negative 2. Or negative 2 over 1 if you want to write it that way. We don't have to. We'll leave it as negative 2. Another way when we have a graph like this is we can kind of connect these dots almost in the form of a triangle. Okay, and we can count our rise here, which is negative because we're going down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll call that negative 6, and then we'll count ours going across. 1, 2, 3. We'll put our 3 there. And then again, it's rise, our vertical change, over run, which is our horizontal change. So we get negative 6 over 3 again, which we get to equal negative 2. So there's two ways you can find the slope that generally only works when you have a graph. Now, the y-intercept. Y-intercept just simply means where does that graph cross the y-axis? Or where is that graph where x equals 0? So luckily we have a graph. We can see that this is our y-axis. This is where the line goes through the y-axis, and it crosses at 0, 4. Well, we aren't as concerned with that 0. We are concerned with that 4. That is our y-intercept. Okay, so then to write the equation of the line, we just plug in what we know. Y equals negative 2x plus 4. That's the equation of that line in that graph. Okay? All right. So let's talk about what if we wanted to write equation of a line that's parallel to this line. Remember, parallel lines means that they have the same slope. Okay, so parallel lines have the same slope. So write an equation of the line that passes through the point negative 1, 1 that is parallel to the line with the equation y equals 2x minus 3. Remember, in this problem, our slope is found right there. So I want to go ahead, we're going to rewrite it, y equals 2x, but we want it to go through this point right here, so we're going to say plus b. We don't know where it's going to cross that y-intercept at. Okay, so then we're going to come back over to this problem. We're going to label our x and our y, and then we're going to take our x and we're going to plug it in over here, and then we're going to take our y and we're going to also plug it in over here. We're going to solve for b. So y is 1, x is negative 1, and we're looking for b. So this is 1 equals negative 2 plus b. We'll add 2 to both sides. We'll get b equal to positive 3. So again, remember, parallel lines have the same slope, but because they're parallel, they're going to cross the y-axis at different points. So this is going to be y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, so that's a parallel line. Now we're going to talk about a perpendicular line. Remember, a perpendicular line, they were inverse, see if I can write this here, inverse reciprocals. So remember, a reciprocal is just the number flipped, and then inverse just means we're going to change the sign of whatever it is. Okay, so we're going to do pretty much the same thing we did in the last problem, except we're going to take a look at our slope here, which in this case is negative 2, and we're going to find the inverse reciprocal of that. So if it's negative 2, it's the same thing as negative 2 over 1. So to flip that, we will just put the numerator as the denominator and the denominator as the numerator. So we'll go 1/2. And because this one's negative, our new one is going to be positive. So for our new equation, the m is going to equal positive 1/2. Okay? So we're going to do the same thing now. We're going to take our new slope, 1/2 times x, and we're going to leave it as plus b because we want to find out for this particular point. So again, x and y, we'll take our y, plug it in there, our x, plug it in next to the 1/2. We'll find that 1/2 times 2 is just 1. Subtract 1 on both sides. We're going to get b equal to a positive 2. So then we just write our equation of the line, y equals mx plus b. Okay? Hopefully that makes a little more sense. This is stuff that you've all done before, so hopefully this is nothing new. I know Mrs. Tressa taught this to you last year. We're just trying to get back to it and kind of refresh your memory. All right, so let's flip the page. More examples to go. Okay? We're going to kind of bring it into kind of a real life situation here, or at least try and get you thinking about what this means here. So the graph of this model over here that we're looking at is a gym membership cost. Okay, so what they want us to do is they want us to write an equation of the line and then interpret what it means. So we need to write the equation and then figure out what the slope and what the y-intercept mean. Okay, so first we'll go with slope. So we have our x1, y1, can almost write that there, x2, and y2. The 2's just aren't forming. There we go. Close enough. All right, so we'll do our change in y's. So we'll go 363 minus 231. That's going to be over 5 minus 2. This is going to be 132 over 3. And then if we simplify that even more, we're going to get 44. Okay, so we'll do what we've done in the last two examples. We're going to take y equals 44x plus b, and we're going to take just one of our points, and we're going to plug it in. So 231 is equal to 44 times 2 plus b. This is going to be 88. We're going to subtract 88 from both sides. And we're going to get 143 is going to be our b. So m is 44, b is 143. So our final equation here would be y equals 44x plus 143. The slope in this case is, hopefully you understand that it tells us how much our cost is per month and then the 143 would be like the startup fee. That's how much it would cost us to start, just to get a membership, and then it costs us $44 each month to maintain that. Okay? So hopefully, again, that makes a little more sense. We're just putting a real-life graph to it rather than just numbers. But we got one more example to go over. So if you remember, we talked about standard form of an equation. And in this case, this is in standard form. When it's in standard form, it makes a lot more sense for us to find the x and the y intercepts. And if we remember, y-intercept was just where the graph crossed the y-axis, and the x-intercept then would be where the graph crosses the x-axis. Now, the easiest way to do this is to take this problem, and we're going to solve it twice. So I'm going to move over here and write it. 3x plus 4y equals 12. 3x plus 4y equals 12. To find either of these intercepts, you are going to plug in a 0 for the opposite variable. So if I want to find the x-intercept, I'm going to plug 0 in for y. So basically what we're going to do here is we're just going to kind of block out that y right there, and from there we are then going to solve 3x equals 12. So we'll divide by 3 on each side, and x in this case is going to equal 4. We'll do the same thing over here, except now we want the y coordinate, so we're going to block out the 3x and just solve it as 4y equals 12. So divide on this side by 4, and that side by 4, you'll get y equals 3. Now when we go to graph it, because we really only need 2 points to graph, we are simply just going to look x equals 4, my x-axis. I'm going to find 4 on the x-axis and plot a point. I'm then going to go to my y equals 3, go to my y-axis and plot another point. And then do your best to draw a straight line through those 2 points. Okay? So again, that was standard form, that ax plus by equals c. Hopefully this makes a little bit of sense to you. Again, it should just be review. We'll do lots of practice with it, though, because it's going to be very important as we try to prove that lines are parallel and perpendicular. So make sure you understand what's going on. If you have any questions, feel free to bring them with you to class, and we will see you then.